Let's talk about the progression from projects to processes. Within an organization, you usually start out with a project, whether it's data governance or data management, or a full program with a suite of projects. And what happens is, as they show value, they grow in scope within the organization until they reach a point where they're not projects anymore, they're replicable and standardized processes within an organization. Let's take a look at how this progression works in more detail. Let's talk about projects and processes. Although data management and data governance are two distinct disciplines, and in a way complementary ones, one common element in both practices is that both start being implemented as projects, usually, which eventually are turned into long-term processes. In short, they go from being individual initiatives to being absorbed into standardized processes and systems that in many cases are enterprise-wide. There are exceptions, naturally. Some companies can afford to go enterprise-wide from the beginning, but usually this is the progression. For example, let's say that a business case is made that there is a data quality problem in terms of customer data. Let's say that we start two data management projects with the goal of remediating customer data issues in two specific departments. At the same time, thinking long term, the company starts a data governance project to set policies in terms of how customer data are created, stored, and maintained. The two types of projects can occur in parallel or together. For example, data management can manage the data and correct it, while data governance can audit the data and impose automated controls. Usually, depending on the organization's size and risk appetite, both DM and DG can start as small isolated projects or as part of larger programs. You can start by impacting one team, 3 teams, 30 teams, or anything in between that makes sense for your organization. For example, a company that needs to radically change the level of oversight that they have over data, such as to comply with GDPR regulation, can start a data governance program with controls on how data are acquired, managed, and disposed of in multiple business lines at once, with multiple individual projects. Or a company that detects problems with transaction data in multiple departments can start a data management program with data management projects for remediation in multiple databases. Both of these types of projects can be for isolated departments or business lines, or they can be enterprise-wide. For example, in terms of the data management discipline in specific, MDM or Master Data Management programs aim to take the most important types of data, such as customer and sales data, and establish a single source of truth for these data enterprise-wide. In other words, you will be changing data, cleansing them, merging them, and centralizing them, managing data for the whole organization at once. Eventually, both data management and data governance projects or programs generate insights, and these are eventually converted into processes and policies for the organization. For example, the data management projects executed detect problems with customer data, so the processes for customer data acquisition are changed so that this doesn't happen again, hopefully. The data governance projects that are executed detect that there is no oversight whatsoever of how data are disposed of. So processes and policies are put in place to control data retention and data disposal. So both of these grow from individual projects to fully fleshed out processes that are standardized and centralized in the organization. One key difference between both, however, is that as they mature, data management usually remains a discipline in the organization, usually part of the IT department, while data governance disappears into the organization. It becomes a business function that is transversal to all disciplines. So at their highest point, data management remains a specialized and sophisticated IT function, while data governance becomes a democratized function for all teams and all departments. In other words, every team owns their data, But in case there are problems, they all go to a specialized team to perform corrections. Let's take an example of implementing GDPR compliance. Let's say that the organization wants to document all uses of personally identifiable information, or PII, on all applications. They can start with one data governance project, where all uses of personally identifiable information in the application are documented, with a small automated control to detect unauthorized use. For example, an access control tool that logs rejected accesses to data. Then, let's assume the project is successful and the project expands into 3 similar projects for apps in the same department. Additionally, the policies regarding use of personally identifiable information are documented, and data stewards are assigned to record the data rules and data uses in a metadata repository. Then, if these are successful, they eventually expand to a full data governance program for multiple departments, which affects all applications of the enterprise, with documented controls for all of them, documented policies to follow, and defined authorized use cases and users for all teams. The program can later become enterprise-wide for the whole company and is eventually assimilated. That is, instead of one central data governance team, every department starts following these policies and applying controls on their own data. What are some of our examples? The first is that expansion can be vertical or horizontal, if you want to call it by those terms. What I mean is, if you have a winning project that is ready to expand, you can grow. In horizontal terms, that is, you do the same but for more teams and more departments. For example, you have a project that controls data retention for one database, and now you expand it to control data retention for multiple databases. Or it can grow vertically. That is, you do more things for the same team or department. If we have that same project where you manage data retention for one database, now you also monitor data quality and you enforce access control on data for that same database. And hey, if a project has enough support and resources, it can grow in both ways at the same time. Then, data management usually requires data governance. That is, data governance is usually independent. If you need data governance, for example, due to compliance, you may not necessarily need data management. You may to perform some fixes. But on the other hand, data management usually requires data governance. Because think about it, since data management is mostly manual and data governance is mostly automated, you want to make sure that the manual fixes that you've applied will not be needed in the future. So you want to prevent the issues that you fixed in the first place. But if you're already starting something automated, such as data governance, you may not need the manual interventions of data management. This is naturally in general terms. And finally, data governance is especially good at piggybacking on other projects. This stems from our previous example. If most data management initiatives need data governance, then these are excellent opportunities for someone seeking to start a data governance effort. Especially advanced projects such as master data management, business intelligence, analytics, and others provide very good data governance opportunities. So anyone that's looking to start a data governance project and they're thinking, where can I show value? If there is a data management project, especially a large-scale one, that's the first place where you should look. What are our key takeaways here? The first is going from projects to processes. Although data management and data governance are distinct disciplines and with distinct focuses, both of them usually start as projects, which usually add more projects and possibly become programs, but eventually are transformed into large-scale processes for the organization. And for data governance, also policies as well. Then, both data governance and data management can be local or global. They can start as isolated projects or as part of bigger programs. And they can focus on specific areas or they can be enterprise-wide from the beginning. Then, data governance is usually transversal while data management is not. Regardless of the projects or processes, data management usually remains a direct, identifiable discipline, usually related to IT, while data governance usually disappears into the organization, becoming a function that everyone performs. So as you see, this is the usual progression from projects to processes. You usually start out with a project, whether it's data governance or data management, and it progresses in scope within the organization as you obtain more results. And the end goal is always to become enterprise-wide, because if you're not affecting the whole organization, then you just have isolated wins. And don't forget that data governance in specific is not a dedicated function when it's in the most sophisticated level. It should become a control function which belongs to every single department.